Hey guys, this is DK at Nerdum. We're going to be talking about an introduction to D&D. I'm here with,
Hey, I'll be going by the name Ozpin as a reference to Ruby.
and like I said, we're going to be doing an introduction to D&D. Basically, cool little quirks you can do with your character, with character development, things you can have little ticks, things you can find, do.
Because it's always good to have quirks. You don't need to have something annoying like an accent that gets on everybody's nerves. A lot of people do that. It's good to have, character, flaws. Actually, the edition of Dungeons and Dragons we'll be talking about, which is 5th, is very good at giving you things to latch onto, specifically with the background traits.
And we are talking about 5th edition mainly because it is the introduction, most streamlined edition so far. It's the best for new people getting into it.
But we've both been playing D&D for, going on... I've been playing for about 9 years.
Well, I started when I was 7. I'm now 25, about to be 26. I stopped for about 4 years, and then I got back together on it, and then I met you at a D&D session.
Funnily enough.
Ozpin is actually my best friend in real life. Known him for, 7 years now?
Aww.
We're getting freaking old.
We are. We are... I had a moment the other day when I recognized that Iron Man came out 10 years ago.
Ugh.
So did the first Transformers movie.
Michael Bay, you old son of an explosion-loving bitch.
Although he did donate, I believe it was $1 million to the hurricane.
He's a bro.
He's a bro, but he's a dude bro.
Yeah. He's a man bro.
Yeah, let's be specific. It's like he's a frat boy.
Yeah, there's no two ways around it. So, intro to D&D. First thing you're going to need, go to any comic book store, get a set of dice. 6 to 7 dice in it. A D20, which is the 20-sided dice.
They tend to run about $20 for a set.
Oh, depends on the shop. When I got mine, it was $10, $12. I've also gone to a different comic book store. And
did I say $20?
Yeah.
God, no.
That's if you want a pouch with it, man.
Yeah, right. That's with a dice bag. A nice dice bag.
The one like I got?
Yeah, average, you're going to spend about $10 on a nice set. If you'd like one of the cheaper sets, they certainly have those, but I find that they're not as well balanced. You can find sets for $4. They're not the nicest things in the world, but I'm speaking as someone who prides himself on his dice collection. But you were saying D20 is your primary die?
Yeah, I also have quite a few sets. I have 6 sets of dice that I use on average. Yeah, D20, there's the D12, which is all D12 is obviously a 12-sided die. And the D just means dice, so just for reference, if you used.
Yeah.
There's the D10 and the percentile die. Those are the D10 that goes through 1 through 10. That looks like a multi-sided diamond.
And yeah, they are both shaped the same way. But
and the other one has double digits.
Yes.
And you run those together. The one that has 1 to 0, which is 1 through 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 0. 0 means 10. When you roll with the percentile die, it's the double digits. The one without the double digits is always the 1 spot, and the double digits is the 10 spot. So if you roll double zeros and a 0, that's 100.
Yeah.
If you roll, essentially it.
Percentile rolls are very funny. Important thing to note is that they are shaped the same way, and you can use them if you need multiple D10s. Beyond that, it's as simple as using the percentile die, which is the double-digit die, to roll to determine the tens number, and then the single-digit die to determine the singles number.
And that is used in D&D for multiple things, chances. If you're going through the book, there's a table where you can roll for trinkets.
Yeah, the trinkets. I love the trinkets.
Sorry, I feel like I'm about to sneeze here. There's weird trinkets. The weirdest one I've ever seen, it was on the 5e wiki, you know, the SRD 5e wiki you can find online.
There are a lot of fan-made trinket charts.
Exactly. And the coolest thing I've ever seen is a small, tiny dragon, tiny sized. So it's a size like fit in your hand, holding his greatest fortune, a single gold piece. The dragon's friendly as you can be. He is the nicest thing you can be until you try to take that coin. If you don't try to take that coin, he is your buddy.
I think the most entertaining trinket that I found, it actually took some Googling of like trivia facts for the trinkets, because there's plenty of them out there, is it's described as a small metal box with 2 prongs on the end that sparks in water, which is actually strangely topical because you just had to replace the 9-volt battery in your microphone.
Yeah, thanks for bringing it up.
Yeah, that's what it's supposed to be, is a 9-volt battery in D&D. And I found that fascinating. There are a lot of different, like I mean, just creative, hidden little trivia spots in stuff like that. The most recent trinket that I picked up is I think it's a necklace of varied holy symbols.
Yeah, the 12 gods in there.
Yeah. 12. It's a necklace comprised of the holy symbols of 12 different gods.
12 deities. Yep. Doesn't mean they have to be good guys. Just gods.
And some of them are silly. Again, there is a bottled Sprite, which is obviously just a bottle of Sprite.
No, I'm pretty sure that's going all Zelda on us.
It's a dead Sprite in a bottle, but I maintain that's
morbid.
It is morbid, but I maintain it's a reference to, the cola Sprite.
It has to be. My coolest thing that I've ever seen is something that you gave me when we were DMing. It was the purple handkerchief that I got from a arc wizard.
And I was planning to use this if we ever got that far into the game, but the best thing about trinkets is that you can use them character-wise, like as the player, you can use them as hooks and story plot points for your characters.
Background all over it.
Yeah, but the DM can do that too. The background is such an amazing forget the fact that it gives you bonuses, and forget the fact that you can create your own backgrounds. There are rules for that. I've never actually explored them, but apparently they're relatively simple. They are such good tools for the DM to use to expand the world. If you have a purple handkerchief of an archmage, I get to make an archmage and have him come up at some point.
Yeah, it's like the 6-finger man that comes up everywhere. It's something that you can give your character a little bit of backstory, the DM or the character, to where is...
I'm Amigo Montoya.
You have killed my father. Prepare to die. Yeah, it's essentially that. It's all about, in D&D, role-playing. That's why it's called a tabletop role-playing game. There's nothing better than a group that can role-play, and if you want to get into role-playing, D&D's the thing for you. You just have to know how to do it and not get dampered by the people around you. Not everybody role-plays. We have that problem right now with our current group. It's a dilemma that every group goes through.
D&D at its core is a social experiment. It is a bunch of people getting into a room together and pretending to be fictional characters that need to solve a variety of problems. And again, I'll be honest.
There's sometimes where you'll do epic things like kill Godzilla jumping off a 50-foot wall. It happens.
That's happened. That has happened.
That's later on when we start doing our coolest stories in a later episode. Coolest D&D stories.
But, nothing, I'm going to be honest, nothing frustrates me more than being at a Dungeons & Dragons game. And again, this is an issue with one of our current groups. I'm involved in multiple groups right now, but...
it's the group I'm with right now, too.
Yes, we are both involved in a group where, frankly, roleplay is lacking.
Non-existent, essentially.
It is
the only guy
that
lacking. Does it wants to... Usually a high pothead in the game. Not in real life, just in the game. He doesn't even drink alcohol, so figure out how he even knows how to talk like that.
The problem is that that's being taken seriously.
Yeah.
Because the other players are so lacking. And I'm frankly, whenever I'm playing with them, they always expect me to be the face man. And it's not because I'm doing anything unique as far as D&D goes. It is because...
They're new. They're too new.
Well, no, I'm always the one role-playing. So they think, oh, he's the face man because he's always role-playing. He's always in character. He's always talking to people.
It's a
like,
major
yeah, I'm
problem.
doing that because nobody else is doing it. And I don't want to be in that role. So frankly, in our current game, Gamma World, by the way, is a great game.
Oh, it makes no sense, but it is so fun to play.
It's super crazy, super fun.
I am a vampire that shoots any matter blast from his mind. I can also look at you and dominate you. So, but I don't glow. I don't glitter. Just I refuse that. Screw Twilight.
Yeah, I think we all we've all come to the realization that Twilight was silly.
You're a Terminator in Gamma World.
I am I'm an android doppelganger, which means I'm an android that can essentially multiply and be in multiple places at once. But when I realized that they were trying to stick me with that face roll again, I kind of was like, I backed out. And I'm like, guys, I'm a robot. I can't...
That's not going to go well.
I basically put them in a situation where, look, roleplay, because I'm not going to. Not, at least not as heavily. I'm certainly going to roleplay my character. I'm going to do things that the character would do, but I'm not going to be... I don't think it's a negative score. I think I have a 10 charisma.
Yeah,
Normally I run characters with very high charisma.
I have an 18 to charisma on my base stat, and then I have a plus 12 to 14 to interaction. If anything, I should be the face man. But I've tried to take that role in this current group, and I was shot down. But it's a good group. I love playing with them. We're not cutting on the group.
We've been playing with them since we started.
I created the group, remember that?
Yeah,
it was
we started here at your place.
Me and about 4 or 5 other guys and girls. Lovely group. The current group is
to be frank,
changed.
I wouldn't mind having some more girls. Because the
Sausage Fest is not necessary.
The current game is a complete sausage fest. And, yeah.
Believe it or not, there's a lot of girls in D&D.
Yeah, surprisingly, there's a large number.
Things have changed since 10 years ago, folks. But
it's a good thing.
Yeah, it is. Let's not have an eternal sausage fest around here.
But I have a low charisma, and I'm playing an android character. I'm playing a robot, and I'm not going to be the one who steps into that role this time because they always expect it of me. And it's like when you have players who are falling asleep at the table.
Oh God!
Why do you even bother to come?
Just don't agree.
I mean,
there's circumstances where let's say you just got off work, you were graveyard, and you come in, you get off at 11, you get to the group at 12. It's understandable at that point.
Yes.
But when it's almost every single time, you need to reassess everything. But let's get back to the creation of a character because...
Right, so backgrounds are a great tool.
Backgrounds are magnificent.
Probably,
they're necessary.
We will probably be going on tangents like this because we kind of agreed before we started this wasn't going to be a scripted thing.
It's a conversation.
Yes.
If you guys have anything you want to tell us about, you want to have like a featured fact or a featured comment where you tell us your story, we'll read that out. We want to have cool stories. We want to share. This is a conversation.
Yeah.
Not a one-way thing.
But don't expect us to can of worms everything all the time. Don't expect us to start on a tangent and then stop it midway through. We're going to try and have this be a fluent conversation.
Okay, so now we're going to talk about rolling your stats versus the table stats. Table stats are it's usually 18, 16, 14.
It varies.
The array, the standard array I use is a 18, a 16, a 2 14s, a 12, and a 10.
All DMs do it differently. The book certainly has different rules from that.
Exactly.
The book is a lot more... those are very powerful starting stats compared to what the book gives you.
I make my campaigns very difficult, though. It's all situational. It's always situational.
Of course, when I have used starting stats in a starting standard array, I've used an 18 I've used a 12, 2 14s, 2 16s, and an 18.
Yeah.
Which is also very powerful.
Yes, very.
But there's also the merit of point buy, which
It explains in the book how to do it.
yeah, to be frank, I've never used point buy.
I have basically, essentially, the more points you get, the more points it takes. Let's say you get a 12 into a stack, still takes 1. You get a 13 to a stack, takes 2 points. Gets a
And there
14
are
to a stack,
limits.
takes 3. There's a limit. There's no way for you to get your character above the table that they provide. It's just for you to have your own specialized character. Maybe you want to dump a couple of stats to get more points. You can do that to the extreme. I've seen people with a 6 wisdom, 6 intelligence, but a 21 strength.
And a DM can assign starting limits.
Exactly.
It's like you can't have a stat over a 16. Sorry.
It's standard for everybody to not have a stat over 20. Because usually when you have your stats, you have an 18. Well,
Actually,
there's some classes or some races that give you a +2 to it. Let's say you're playing a elf, you get a +2 to intelligence.
I've started with characters at a natural 20.
Exactly.
But you can't go beyond that.
No, you can't. Start it.
Beyond divine intervention, beyond a god literally coming down and being like, have a +2 to charisma. You can't raise your stat beyond a 20.
Well, there are things, but that's just starting off. You can't have it above 20. Like, there's things in the game where you can find something that increases it. Divine intervention or items.
There are feats.
Yes.
And again, we'll go back and forth. We're going to be primarily talking about 5th, but we will go back and forth between the editions because we both have experience with other editions of D&D.
I have experience with things all the way back from 2nd edition advanced D&D.
And I've played other games, including White Wolf games like Exalted and Mage.
And I've played Pathfinder. Who hasn't played it?
Yeah, I think everybody who's interested in D&D has dabbled in Pathfinder before.
Their maps, amazing to use. The fold-out maps.
Yeah.
If you ever want, there's when you're going to go buy a starter pack, there is a starter box. It used to be red, now it's black. For 5th edition, there's a black box that comes with black dice, which we call monster dice most of the time. It comes with a book on how to create your character, some tips, a couple starter pages, and a one short campaign for you to play with your friends to test everything out. That's how I got reintroduced to D&D 3rd edition with one of my old friends, no longer around. We got the red box, the infamous red box, and it was just me and him. We just started our campaign. I was the DM and a player at the same time. We had no idea what we're doing, but
which can work. I mean,
it works. It's wonky.
When you're older and you know better.
I was 18 at this point, 19. So
right. It's like you can make me and DK have made games with 2 players and a single DM work. Your DM is probably going to need to
intervene.
They're going to need to roll an NPC to travel with you to balance out the party, at least somewhat. But you can make small parties work. There are instances where you can play just DM and player and have a blast.
We've done that.
Yeah.
It's just you and me, and I was the DM and you were the player.
Yeah, and it's not ideal. In no way is it ideal. But if you're on the same wavelength as your DM, it can be a lot of fun.
Also, 5th edition is modular. You can take out things you don't like and add things you do like. So that is their whole saying. This is a modular system. So if you don't like you like flanking someone from 4th edition, you can add that instead of having just advantage and disadvantage, which we'll get into.
And there's so many online fan-created things for 5th edition. There's I think one that is definitely worth mentioning is Middle Finger of Vecna.
Oh, it's a brilliant site.
And it's got so many fan classes. I'm currently playing, I'm dabbling in my very first fan-created class, the Craftsman.
Clockwork Craftsman, right?
I think I'm going to go with I think it's called a Thunderlord.
Oh, nice.
Which is fun. Clockwork basically makes you Iron Man.
Who doesn't want to be Iron Man?
Yeah, the class is essentially Iron Man. And again, there are fan classes all over the internet. Specifically, there are a lot of fan classes for the Avengers. There is a Hulk. There is a War Hulk. There are multiple Hulk classes.
I want to play it. I want to be a Hulk.
I'd imagine
Who
you
doesn't want to be a Hulk?
He plays those characters all the time, people.
I'm going to go on a little thing on the side here. I used to play a character named Gilfrey Dragonic. Do you remember him?
Certainly.
From your viewpoint, how do you explain him?
Remember that story we mentioned earlier about him cleaving Godzilla in two line?
So we were playing a 3.5 4th edition mashup. It was a mixture between two editions. We didn't want to lose our characters, so we just mixed the two.
Our dungeon master was essentially Skyping in to DM for us. He lives a state over.
He's been playing since 1st edition, and he's never stopped playing.
Yes,
he knew everything. He had tubs. He was the man you went to.
He is old school.
Well, he was a scenario. My character named Gilfried was a 6'9" Genasi, magma Genasi, barbarian that wore full plate. He was ungodly strong. He had 30 strength. I forget how I did it. I think I dumped everything but strength.
Yeah, it actually got very frustrating for him at a certain point.
Because I couldn't roleplay anything except for a dumb Luke.
Yeah.
But he gave us this giant. It was like a Tarrasque, but it wasn't. We didn't need to wish it dead for it to stay dead. But it comes in.
Godzilla is an appropriate comparison. It was a very large sea. It was capable of
destroying whole castles.
Yeah, it was a siege engine in biological form.
And we're standing here at this 50-foot tall castle wall.
Yeah, we're on a wall.
And I tell him I run to the biggest motherfucker I can see and attack him. Well, I wasn't paying attention, so I had to roll a drop save because I dropped 50 feet. Rolled, not hurt at all. My character rolled a crit.
But in the process, sorry to interrupt, but like I was saying earlier, our DM would Skype in. So his version of D&D was a mesh between 4th edition rules, 3rd edition rules. I forget what you call that. I don't think it's homebrew. But he had a combination of a lot of different games all kind of thrown together, and it was working for us because we all had 4th edition characters. It was pretty straightforward. But he would do this thing, which DK is about to get into.
It was a crit book. It was the book of mischievous crits and fumbles. And you can get it on Amazon right now. That's what it is. I'm actually going to buy it myself. It's about $14.99. It's not expensive at all. It's 4th edition, so you'll have to change it to a degree. But going back on what we said earlier, percentile die. You had to roll a percentile die, and it was on a bell curve. So the closer you got to the center, the stronger. But if you rolled a 1, 2, or 3 on the percentile, or a 98, 99, or 100, two very drastic things happen. I rolled a 98. No, I rolled a 99. And I had to roll to confirm because when you roll a 99, it's an automatic death. It doesn't matter how strong it is. It could be a god. It could be the god in D&D, the creator of all. And you decapitate him. So my character, so when I rolled this, he was like, so who do you attack? Because I rolled beforehand, and it's like, I attacked the biggest son-bitch around. And he was like,
that's what saved it. That's what saved it. The fact that he said that specifically.
The biggest.
What saved it.
Because there was giant trolls, literally giant trolls. Not just trolls, giant trolls. There was orcs. It was just an army of evil.
It was an army. Or at least this was the scouting portion of the army. They were attacking an encampment, and we were on the wall waiting for reinforcements.
And we were supposed to wait for, 20 archers to take this thing down?
Yeah, I had trained... I was playing a ranger, and I had personally trained a squadron of archers who were going to be my lackeys during this fight.
And that's how we were supposed to win, but instead, the first round, second person to go do their turn, I jump off this 50-foot wall, run to him, jump up 60 feet, because this thing was massively big.
Didn't you get it coming off the wall?
No, I dropped down. That's why I had to roll for
Did you roll?
fall.
Didn't you roll after when you hit?
I
seem to recall he was pissed.
Yeah, because he made me re-roll my attack.
Let's see if you at least take damage from the fall.
Well, no, I rolled. And I said I hit him. He was like, well, you have to roll to make sure you hit the ground. And then I rolled my crit. So he was pissed. He was pissed because he made me re-roll. And if he didn't, none of this would have happened.
No.
So my character, Gilfried, lights up and just flames flare off of him. And I just take my giant bastard sword and cleave this thing's head off. Hitting it so hard that with this book, you roll a percentile, you could also get magic items or cool things from fails or successes. And I opened up an interdimensional treasure trove and pulled out shoulder mounts of eponymous haze. And it was the coolest thing.
No, I had the pauldrons.
No, I also got I got bracers of eponymous haze. That's what I got. Because when you critted, you get these items from eponymous haze, and he was a well-known warrior / wizard. In the book, it explains who he is, and basically it was his treasure trove that you were breaking into. He long since died. It's really cool.
Died relatively. We don't know that, but
in the book it says he could be alive or dead. But so look into that if you guys want a little bit of flavor text to your crits or fails, because you can get a sentient sword from a critical fail. We've had a guy that did that.
And speaking as a third party, our DM was pissed. Oh my god. The comparison between that thing and a Tarrasque, it's not that far off, because 4th edition Godzilla, I can imagine that was a pain in the ass to beat. But he kills this thing
one hit
in the first round with one hit.
And I'm not even joking, he got
Our
up.
DM got up and walked away from the computer for a few minutes. We were all kind of worried, actually.
What I did pissed him off. He was so dumbfounded and angry, or just frustrated, because one of the meanest things you can do, and the funnest things to do, sadly, is to mess with the DM's story. It's not cool, but it's fun at the same time, which is it's a weird thing. You have to meet the middle ground.
It can be fun if it's done in good fun.
Good fun. But this, I did not mean it to be bad fun, but it was bad fun. Because it was supposed to be this epic fight, one of the epic fights. We were level 14 at this point. And
you don't get a lot of stories like that. You don't get a lot of stories where the DM left the room in frustration.
No. But it was just happens to be one of those times where I made a character that just annihilated the story.
And it was, I would say it's pure luck of the dice, but the last game we played, this motherfucker rolled about 6 criticals, just rolling for inventory, starting equipment. This guy rolled about 6 20s.
They started watching me.
Yes, I did. I made sure. I was watching him.
And I still rolled him.
And I've seen him roll. I have felt the need to watch him more than once. And, yeah.
And they've made me change dice several times. I went back to the same dice that I liked my favorite, my Superman dice. Because it made no difference.
Red, blue with gold.
Yep, Superman. Golden era. No, Silver Age era. All right, but back to character creation.
And DK doesn't know how to rig his dice.
No. And
DK does not know how to microwave. I know there are ways. I don't know them either. But DK does not know how to microwave a die so that it always rolls d20s. And even if you could rig a die like that, there's no way you roll that much.
No. And I let anybody that has a second guess about what I roll my dice as many times as they want. I have no resistance to, if you think I'm cheating, watch me. You can roll my dice after I roll or before I roll to check to see if something's up. It's not. I'm just really fucking lucky with rolls.
Did you crit during combat?
Yeah. 4 or 5 times. Yeah. I pissed everybody off.
I don't think it was quite that many times during combat.
No, I did. I rolled 3 crits. To be honest.
3 crits during combat, and then
the next combat I
rolled
rolled once.
something like 4. He rolled something like 4 20s for character creation, starting inventory, and then 3 more crits during combat, to be specific. Like, we exaggerate a little, but not that much.
And then I fumble in one of the games we were playing before that when you needed to fumble. So
Yes, but you were also using
a different die, but I
What are
used
they
the same
called?
dice at the same time.
spin down dice.
Yeah.
Which is
Either high or low.
yeah, you just shouldn't use those. Now that we know that, we probably won't be using those anymore.
Well, when our DM told me to change dice, I did. I'm not worried about it.
Uh-huh.
I'm not here to cheat. I'm here to play. It's all about luck of the gods. All right, but back to character creation because another tangent. It's gonna happen. When creating a character, you have to have backstories. Gil Creed had a backstory with Pin over here's backstory, where my character fell down from a different dimension, smacked into the ground, destroyed a forest. So what he proceeded to do was plant the trees from the tallest to the shortest in perfect 6 foot by 6 foot order for a whole forest. And his character stumbled upon this, and that's not natural. And for an elf, especially a high elf, it drives them insane.
It doesn't quite scar them to that extent, but it's
not natural.
It is very. My character freaked out a little bit, but my character was also kind of elaborate like that. He was very unbalanced mentally. That was by design. But yeah, when a ranger who is an elf sees a forest where all of the trees are spaced exactly the same amount of distance away from each other, and all in a perfect pattern of height from tallest to shortest, it doesn't usually go over well with elves, because that's not normal, like you said.
It's ill-natural, if anything, not natural. But that's a cool backstory, because that's how my character knew him, because I was a long-living genocide from another dimension. For me, hundreds of years was a year in my actual character's life. It's not how that with the race, but DMs let you do cool things like that.
Yeah. You gotta, if you have a cool, that's another thing to mention. If you have a cool DM,
the world's not even the limit.
Well, a lot of the time, the rules aren't the limit.
No.
You know, you can come up with cool ideas. My current Wednesday night character, you can come up with cool ideas, and they're not always going to get you bonuses in game. But I wrote such an elaborate backstory for my Wednesday character. My DM gave me bonus training in an additional skill. He gave me a special sight for 10 feet.
A bonus to perception.
Huh?
You had a bonus to perception, too.
I think that was from me, you know. But you're thinking of the sight thing. But I have a 10-foot special sight, which lets me see the ethereal plane within 10 feet of me.
It was like a sphere around him where he could, and not even just see it, he could manipulate it. He made ethereal arrows from his soul.
Yeah, you're thinking of Iggy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What did your character Iggy do? He made some kind of side skirt?
Right. So my character was named Yggdrasil, and everybody called him Iggy because it was simple and an easy
and
name
fun.
to give. Yeah.
I hate when people say, hey, that elf, or that thief, or that dwarf.
Never call... If you're going to play Dungeons & Dragons...
Learn the name.
Yeah, make an effort to learn your friends' characters' names. But,
they could be confusing. You could be Ekblad, or Kyron, but learn the name.
Come up with an extremely long, complicated name for a laugh just once, but make sure that there is a...
short version.
Yeah, make sure there's like a 2-syllable... Essentially, the punchline is, I am this... You talk for 13 seconds about your name, and then you say your name, and it takes like 2 syllables for what you would prefer that they call you.
Like Zephyr.
Yeah.
Just something a little fun.
Something easy.
But back to your character.
Anyway, I was playing a ranger, an elven ranger named Iggy, and he was the last surviving member of a group of knights who had been exterminated by what was essentially a hate zombie-inducing
mutation
avatars of a plague.
Yeah, it was a mutation from a plague, essentially.
That
affected your soul, right?
They were pieces of gods. They were
damn.
golem-like avatars that were pieces of a god who disassembled itself in order to attack its daughter. Anyway, my entire organization of knights were wiped out by these things. And
One night, and only a night.
Yeah, in one day. And my character would do this thing where, because these things turn you into these rage zombies, he would collect from his fallen comrades. He would collect what was essentially like their rank ribbons, and he had this like half skirt on the front right thigh that was comprised of all of these dead knights' rank ribbons, because his sole reason for continuing to live was, I have to hunt these fuckers down.
And kill them.
Yeah, they were my family, but I have to hunt these guys down, because if not, they're going to spread this.
Yeah, and again, backstories. You can go an inch or a mile. You can make a mountain out of a molehill, or a molehill out of a mountain.
Yeah. And creativity, people. If you are creative and you've come up with some good ideas, your DM will like them so much, he will give you stuff.
Get weird. It doesn't matter. It's D&D. Don't put your reality in your fiction.
I mean, when I joined a 4th edition game halfway through, I didn't know what to write for my backstory. I had no idea what to do with it. And someone, actually a guy, he turned and he looked at me and he's like, go big with it. So what did I do? I made a
7-page backstory, right?
No, that's Iggy. That was my first
You
character.
still went big.
That was my first character. I fully admit that I went overboard with Iggy's backstory.
Well, it was supposed to be a long term from beginning to end. And in 4th edition, or the edition we're doing, 30 levels was the cap.
Yeah.
We started at level 1. I was the starting DM, actually.
I think we started at 7. I think we were at level 7 when we started.
Oh, no. We were low. Because it just carried on past the one I did, and we started at level 1. And me DMing for the first time, I leveled us quick. Or was there a skip?
A skip?
Where we just changed characters, basically. It could be. My memory could escape me.
I think we did start at a later level. But...
It happens. But by the time we were done, when things happened, I had to leave at level 14 or 15.
Somewhere around in there.
Yeah.
We went
it's like multiple years.
We went to level 16 over the course of 3 years, and then we changed games because, my God, it got so boring.
And repetitive.
And that wasn't any...
It wasn't anybody's fault.
No, that wasn't the fault of the DM or the players. It was the fact that when you do nothing but play the same game for 3 years straight,
you get tired of it.
You would like something different. Especially if you were playing a ranger like me and your sole purpose in life was to look at the dungeon master and say, I walk in and I shoot it with my longbow.
Or a barbarian that I walk in and cut its head off.
Yeah. You don't have a lot of... Again,
no leeway.
The reason I got as far as I did with that character was because I came up with that extensive as hell backstory and entertained myself with it away from the table. It came up at the table 3 times at most.
And the reason why I got so far with my character is because I got 3 years of hack and slash out of my system, and now I'm playing characters like a thief that has virtually no combat ability other than shoot them far away or poison. But he can do so many other things. Pick locks, set traps. And it's all about what you want to play. And think long term. Because if you go to your local D&D game at a comic book store, it's not going to be that long. But if you get a group together and you're going to play a long-term game, think big, think long.
Now I maintain, and for people who are looking to get into Dungeons and Dragons, I know this is a very this recording is all over the place.
Yes.
But if you are looking to get into Dungeons and Dragons, I will tell you right now, the best possible thing that you can do is find a game store or a comic book store. That'll probably be easier. Go to the place or call them up, ask them when they have Dungeons and Dragons games. Usually they have what is called encounters on Wednesday night. That's from about 7 o'clock to 9 o'clock.
And they've changed the name recently from what I understand, but they'll know what you mean.
Yeah, they will know the Wednesday night Dungeons and Dragons games.
It's usually Wednesdays. It's run by Wizard of the Coast still to this day. You can register, get a card, and your character is recognized by them, essentially.
Yeah, and that's the best thing that you can do if you're trying to break into the game, because it's not long sessions. It's about 2 hours. Sometimes you get a DM who's cool and they want to play for longer. That being said, it's usually just combat. You don't get a lot of, at least when we were playing in 4th edition, you didn't get a lot of roleplay opportunity because there just wasn't time for it.
And you can start one if there isn't one. You can say, hey, do you guys have a problem with me starting a encounters game? Get in touch with Wizard of the Coast. Tell them that you want to run a game for them at this comic book store. You can get one going. It doesn't mean if it's not there you can't start one. Start one. Be proactive. Get into it if you're going to get into it.
And that's the hardest part of it, is finding a group to play with and maintaining that group. My groups that I'm members of, we all met in encounters. My Wednesday group met in encounters. Our Saturday group that DK and I are both a member of, we met at encounters.
Hell, we met there, and I just said, I'm going to start a game. At that point, I had no idea how to start a game, but I knew I was going to. I decided at that point. And I told everybody at the table. And then they came. And I bullshitted my way through the first half year.
Yeah.
But I'd like to be a little prideful and say I did well for first time DM at that.
Yeah, and the rules aren't as important as
having fun.
Yeah, everyone having a good time.
If you can fudge the rules, if it's going to make an epic moment, make an epic moment. If it's an epic fail, make an epic fail.
If an argument is about to start over whether or not I can shift in this situation, change the rules.
The DM has prerogative.
Yes, that has always been my saying, is DM's prerogative is the end-all, be-all for the game.
If the DM says no, it's a no.
Yeah. And, that's another great thing about 5th edition specifically, is that 5th edition puts so much into the DM's hands. They leave so much open-ended for the DM to decide. And that's great. It's especially good for first-time DMs.
Exactly.
For beginner DMs. It's great because it gives them all of these, they have to improvise. They have to be creative.
And most of the time it's on the spot because you can't just let the story end.
Yeah, no.
You have to come up with, it's ever changing.
No strategy ever survives first contact with the enemy.
Yeah,
to be fair, if you're DM, the players are not your enemy. You are just as much a player as the player characters are if you're a DM.
You're the writer and the players are the pen and paper.
Yeah.
You're giving them the setting, they're writing the story.
Yes.
It's their story.
That exactly.
But you get to help it. You get to mold it. You get to if someone goes into a forest and they're trying to track someone that stole their goods, you can't just say, "Oh, you didn't succeed on the check." Okay, so nature failed, so roll streetwise. Maybe you got there. They fail. You can't just say, "Well, story over."
Yeah,
you have to change. Like, oh, he had a map to his hideout.
It's a problem that a lot of DMs have is they get into a situation and they feel cornered because, and it's a problem that I've had very severely these last couple of last year when I was running the game. I had some. We're both moderately experienced DMs, by the way. That being said,
several years between the two of us, about 3 or 4.
Yeah, each. Well, speaking at that point as a beginner DM, you get into a situation where you feel cornered, and you don't know what to do because
it's inevitable.
Yeah, the players and the characters aren't doing what you needed them to do, but you need to be able to adapt.
You need to change it because let's just say that they need to find that map. In the earlier analogy they don't know that map was never there. They don't need to know that map was never there.
Yeah.
Because it's there for convenience.
Pull it out of your ass.
Literally. Yeah. It could be in his ass.
I wouldn't go
Don't do that.
Don't do that.
But it could be. Or maybe you have a really frisky bard. Don't do that, kids.
Let's not.
But it is all from the top of your head. You can have a layout. You can have detailed. You can be like Matt Mercer on Critical Role. Off of Geek and Sundry.
Something I've yet to get into.
It is amazing. He has a layout, but he rolls with it. He doesn't just it is this way and it isn't this way. He rolls with it, and that's what you got to get down, the arts of improvisation. Improvisation.
You can't. Your best bet is to come up with a general summary and wing it. At least that's what I do. My problem was I came up with a general summary. I elaborated on it too much to the point where I needed the party to do something very specific. And while that was the goal of the party, and what I needed to be the goal of the party, they didn't grab at the hook. They wanted to do something different, and that's gonna happen.
Yeah, you didn't catch them by their teeth. You didn't get them to do what they needed to do because they didn't catch on to it.
Well, I was trying to emulate a sandbox game so that they wouldn't feel like I was railroading them.
That's one of the hardest things is not having your players railroad them. But
what happened was, I tried so hard not to railroad them that they wound up losing track of what they were supposed to do. And you can't be that vague.
You can't have them lose direction.
Yeah, you can't be that vague.
One of the hardest things to do is have them have motivation to do what you need them to do. But the great thing is that they don't know you're railroading them if you do it. The way I say that is, you can have it to where a stream is just too deep and too wide for them to come across, so they have to go a certain direction. And that direction, you can change around the environment to where that direction's correct.
But if they figure out a way to get around that,
let them get around it.
Yeah, don't just change the geography. Don't
if the wizard has the fly spell, let them across.
Don't be like, oh, there's an invisible wall, because how annoying is that when you're playing an old video game and there are invisible walls all over the damn place?
Like, just put a fucking wall. But this isn't Skyrim. This is
better.
It's better. It's more open. It's Grand Theft Auto doesn't got shit on this.
No.
It's all in your mind. And be detailed with your descriptions of your characters and your surroundings for the DMs that are trying to make a setting.
And you know, the things that take place in your mind, they are more interesting than anything anyone could ever show you in a video game or in a movie. There's that old saying about Jaws, where because the shark animatronic did not function the right way, the thing would basically work for a few takes and then break after it got wet, and they had to fix it constantly. Someone said once, it's not what you see the shark doing, it's what you imagine the shark doing that really scares you.
And your imagination is only limited by you. If you want to have a limitless imagination, you can do so.
Mm-hmm.
It's all about just thinking outside the box. What would you not do? What would you do? What would Gandhi do? It doesn't matter.
Being in character.
Exactly.
It's like you come up with a completely fictional, fantastical person that doesn't exist except inside of your own head. And you put yourself in these, just like I said at the very beginning, you put yourself in these situations with a bunch of random strangers, and you have to figure out, how do we solve this problem?
And there's never one way to solve a problem. There's multiple ways. There's like that...
You will have the arguments, though. You will have the long, drawn-out discussions. It's just going to happen about what's the best way to deal with it.
And then sometimes you'll hear stories about people. It's like, oh, all these wizards are pouring their magical power to block this door. I'm going to break the wall.
Yep.
It happens.
That was great.
And it's ingenious, and that was a great story.
Uh-huh.
I forget who we heard that from, but we're not going to say his name.
Mm-hmm. There are many people online who talk about Dungeons & Dragons.
Yes. This is going to be an ongoing series and podcast on this channel about nerddom. Nerdy things. Specifically, we're going to be talking about D&D for the next couple podcasts. The next podcast we're going to do after this one is actually going to be about classes. Hope you guys look for that. We're not done yet, so don't walk away. Don't click out. Don't you dare.
I'm out. I'm gone.
Oh, come on. Feel free to hit the like button, subscribe. We'd love to have you here. We'd love to have a conversation with you guys in the comments. But okay, so back to character creation. Let's not get too out of the out of
we
bounds.
went on some pretty extensive tangents.
What is life but tangents?
That is You know, the best stories are just a random string of tangents.
And if you want a happy
Kind of
ending,
thrown
it
together in a
depends
way.
on where you stop the story.
It's true, but it's a random string of tangents that are all sewn together in ways that give them meaning to people. So,
But back to character
back to the
creation.
massively nerdy conversation we were having.
we never left it. Let's get real. Ozpin, come on, let's get real.
Ozpin.
Ozpin, sorry, I'm butchering your.
Ozpin.
I'm saying Ozpin.
Ozpin. Ozpin.
Am I not
We
speaking
were actually.
right?
We were.
We had a long, drawn-out
He was
thought
laughing at me.
process
He was
of him trying to
laughing.
make a character
Yeah.
name.
I was like, what? And that, you know, I think that comes back to the core of the conversation we're having is don't feel bad if you take a long time to come up with a name for something. Don't name something, oh, I'm going to name my character Daniel.
Jeff.
Yeah.
You can. Don't get me wrong. Nothing's wrong with those names. But if you want to make a character and you want to make him different, give him a name Draconius.
Don't feel bad for taking a long time on deciding something that feels right. And DK was laughing at me earlier because I was taking a long time.
Not because of he was taking long to make a character, because I gave him, say, hey, come up with a pin name for this. And it took forever longer than I thought it would. I thought he had a couple names ready already. And it took about 30 minutes since I first said it to him for him to come up with one. And it's just, it's one of those joys of making a character. Even if it's not D&D. But D&D, take pride in your character. Your character is a life form. It is a part of you. You may not think it is, but it's a part of you. You made it. But we talked about rolling stats. We talked about background. We talked about little knacks your characters have. Let's talk about weaponry. Let's talk about styles you could play your characters. Attack styles, reconnaissance styles.
Oh boy. Well, you've got melee-inspired characters, based characters.
Ranged styles,
Spellcasting types.
tricks.
Martial types.
Yep. Well, this time we'll talk about spellcaster types. That is, everybody's always drawn to spellcasters first because who doesn't want to wield magic? It's one of those things. In D&D, you can't wear armor and cast magic. That's how it is in the book. There's ways around it, but it usually takes feats. And in 5th edition, feats are rare. They're there, but you have to, instead of taking a bonus to your stats, you take a feat. If you can do it, it's worth it. I've seen wizards that wear plate armor, and you never want to be a wizard that looks like a wizard.
Multi-classing lends itself well to that as
Yes.
well. Of course, I have virtually no experience with multi-classing. I have not played my multi-class character yet. It's my alternate Wednesday character, who's now a level 13 with 12 levels in Sorcerer and a single level in Warlock. So, I multi-classed from a spellcaster into a spellcaster. But,
That makes a pact with a demon or an evil god, usually.
yes, that's what, let's be clear. Warlocks are spellcasters who have made
A pact with a stronger deity, usually
yes,
evil.
pacts with usually evil gods
Yes.
or archdevils or Cthulhu type entities.
Wizards are spellcasters that get their magic from research.
Yes, they're
Knowledge.
nerds. They're nerds.
There's sorcerers theirs are inherent to a degree. They still have to research like a wizard, but their backstories usually they were inherited from their parents,
Yeah.
their bloodline.
Someone
power.
at some point in a sorcerer's history mated with an elemental or something along those lines. Their bloodline is inherently magical as a result of whatever that event was.
Inheritance.
Yeah.
And it could be anything. You could have a warlock grandfather that put magic into your family through his seed, and then gave birth to your mother, and your mother gave birth to you, and then you're a sorcerer just naturally. It happens. That's a cool character quirk I've never seen, but it can happen.
It's certainly a thing you can do with a backstory.
Like I said earlier, like he said earlier, it's not limited to anything.
Yeah.
But those are the three main wizards, uh, sorcerers, and warlocks. Those are the three main magic wielders.
Yeah, warlocks make pacts. Sorcerers have it in their blood, and
Wizards are nerds.
wizards
like
are
us.
book smart. Wizards spend sometimes hundreds of years studying magic and researching
literally.
into it. They are the book smart nerds.
And warlocks are usually control type characters. They have unseen servant. They control the field. They have wide area attacks.
I find that a warlock's spell selection, it tends to lean toward illusionary magic as well as defensive magic.
Yeah, to
and
control the field.
They have some very, very exceptional offensive magic.
Yes, it's limited. It's highly limited.
They're tricksters.
Yeah, they're all about keeping the enemies where you want them to be.
They're slimy thoughts.
The wizards, those are the damage dealers. They have magic missile.
They're glass. They can be glass cannons.
Yes.
But
they shatter easily if you hit them hard enough.
Yeah.
But they're ungodly powerful. And the thing is, starting off, they're not too powerful, but getting higher up, they get massively powerful. It's the opposite of a fighter. You start out strong, but get weaker.
Yeah, they pass each other at some point.
There's a point where they intersect.
Yeah.
You start out as a fighter, you're a god. You're like, I'm gonna stomp on you. You're nothing. You're gonna be a piece of shit. Then you get to level 10, and wizard's like, you're an ant, guy. You're nothing. Why are you still here? Take your full metal tank ass and go lay down.
I've had problems with that where my most successful character, who was a warlock when we ended the game, started out as a sword mage. And because the sword mage in 4th edition
Peters out.
It completely peters out. It becomes
borderline useless.
It becomes useless at higher levels. So my DM sat me down and he's like, look, we have to, who's also a player in our Saturday game, by the way. He sat me down and he's like, look, we have to change your class. You can keep your backstory and you can keep certain features, but we have to change your class because while and this is a quote from one of the players from that game, while what I was doing looked super fancy, I was accomplishing nothing. I was teleporting all over the map and hitting a whole bunch of people at the same time, but I was doing 8 damage.
It was basically ants biting them.
At medium levels, I was doing 12 damage at most.
Which is nothing, because that's 4th edition. You're talking about creatures that have 200, 300 life.
At 4th edition, during the last fight of the campaign, we were at level 18. I dealt a little over 450 damage by myself in 1 round.
As a spellcaster?
Yes.
Instead of a sword mage?
As a damage-dealing warlock.
Yes. And that's the whole thing. It's like multi-classing is your greatest asset. Multi-classing gives you the mountain and the moon.
It can be.
It can be detrimental.
Oh, it can be very detrimental. It can...
It's a balance system.
You don't want to use multi-classing until you've played for a while. Because multi-classing, frankly, it can
sabotage you.
Yes. It can make you a very bad... Let's say you're multi-classing into Warlock from Rogue. It can make you a very bad Rogue and a somewhat okay Warlock, or vice versa. It can bite you in the ass.
I was playing a character that was a thief. 6th level thief, about to go to 7th level, just leveled up. I was going to give him Wizard. The reason why is because Wizard, you take a feat at 6th level for multi-classing, which I took. I believe it's 6th level. Instead of raising your attribute, you get a feat. You could choose. And essentially what it did was that it gave him all the abilities you would get from a wizard. But I could wear my leather armor. My chain shirt, to be more accurate. And so I was a assassin thief that could cast magic missile, fireball, just these awesome abilities. And so it's all about balance. And also there's
to be fair, some people have a problem with and this is something I wanted to talk about a little bit earlier when we were discussing stat rolling. People, your parties don't have to be completely balanced. Your fighter doesn't have to be equally powerful as your wizard. You know, you
Everybody
all,
has a role.
yeah, you all have specialties and you all have faults. But what I was talking about with the stats is don't be afraid to roll your stats. I don't think we talked about rolling stats earlier. We talked about point buy,
Yeah.
but we didn't address rolling stats, which is something I did want to talk about.
Rolling stats, if you're not familiar, is 4d4. You roll them and drop the lowest for each one. Some DMs let you do it roll all your stats, 6 stats, 1 for each: strength, dexterity, constitution, wisdom, intelligence, charisma. But some make you roll in order. So just be careful. Don't feel bad if you roll low, though, because if you roll low on a character,
you can have fun with that.
You can make it to where he thinks he's the shit at talking to women, but he has a 10 charisma.
Yeah, 10 charisma. That's fine compared to rolling 4 1s.
There's rules in the book, though, luckily.
Okay, again, you take 4d6, 6-sided dice, and you roll them. You drop the lowest and add the 3 highest numbers together. That's a number for one of your stats. You do that 6 times, and while some DMs, most DMs, 99.99% of DMs, will let you do that 6 times and then assign those numbers however you want.
There's that 0.01% dickwad. And that's what he is.
Well,
I'd say it's being
fun.
a DM.
I'd say it can be fun.
Can.
I'm not saying in that 0.1% where your DM decides this will be an interesting thing to do. They will have you roll those in order and then assign them to your stats as you roll them. That can be fun. But again, characters don't all have to be equal in power. Don't be afraid if you roll a character who's got no stats over a 12. You know, you can role play. You can have so much fun with a character like that if you're open-minded enough to just give it a try. And if you roll a character that's not playable,
you can re-roll your character.
Yeah, your DM's not going to make you, at least if they're not like...
If they try to make you and you don't want to, find a different DM.
Yeah. Or, you know...
Or talk to the group.
Start a party-wide revolt.
Yeah, rise, my minions.
Rebellion. Hail the rebellion.
But essentially, it's all about what you can make of your character. And there is no limit. There is no glass ceiling. There is no ladder that eventually ends. It's all about what you want it to do and what you want it to be and what you can see in your character because it's as special as you are.
Yeah. You just have to, something a lot of players have a problem with is being shy or feeling silly.
And it's fine with getting used to your group, but you got to realize everybody else around you probably LARPed at one point. Everybody around you plays card games.
You're all sitting at the same table playing the same nerdy game, and you don't need to feel bad for being the guy at the table who decides to...
Give yourself a way of speaking that's different.
Yeah, don't be annoying. It's very easy to be annoying with an accent, trust me.
Very. And don't give some racist type of way of speaking to your character. No one likes that person. That gets awkward. I've been there.
I've heard stories of
as a DM,
gay characters who are groping, like a female playing a gay male character who is groping the other male players.
I've been there where a guy just played. He was this white guy. I'm not going to say his name, but he just played the most stereotypical, horrible adaptation of a black guy. He essentially went blackface and went horrible, and I kicked him out of my game. And he threw a fit, and he actually got banned from the store.
Don't be a douchebag.
That's how he was with everyone.
You know, if you're a decent person in real life, you probably aren't going to have a problem with rolling a character for D&D and role-playing them at the table.
And don't make a character that's there to fuck up everyone else.
Yeah. Don't ever
You'll learn you have no friends real quickly if you do that.
I'm going to can of worms this conversation.
Yeah, let's
because
stop.
This could very easily develop into a talk.
We're going to talk about a tangent. We're going to go on a tangent on another episode about bomb players.
Yeah, can of worms. But this could easily develop into a conversation about evil aligned player characters and playing that, and it can work and not really, but
essentially that is our intro into D&D. We talked about backstory, rolling stats. Don't feel bad about your stats. Realize that your character could be created from anything you want or nothing that you want.
Be creative, don't be shy.
You could be a thief that's a half-orc. You could be a...
Don't be afraid to throw things together that you don't think are going to fit right.
I have seen a fairy fighter that was stronger than anybody else in the party. That is awesome.
Yep.
Fairies are 3 inches tall.
Everybody's like, oh, I'm playing a ranger, I should play an elf because it works best with the class. That's another thing like what we were talking about earlier.
Go against stereotypes.
Don't be afraid to roll your stats and use those numbers, even if they're low. Don't be afraid to... I've seen charts online where you roll to determine your race and class. That's certainly... And that I find that fun as hell. Where you just roll a character completely at random.
Because it's like you got birthed into that game. You had no idea what you're going into, but you ended up here and holy shit, this is going down.
Yeah.
You could roll from that stat just like you came in real life. You had no choice of what you were. And going into a game like that, you can be another person. You can have an escape from the role. You can be something fantastical, something magnificent and just beautiful, or evil and vindictive and just not you or you. There's no limit to what you can put into it. That is why D&D is D&D.
You can have fun, and more importantly, you can help other people to have fun. And that's very fulfilling, when you know that you're entertaining everybody around you.
And that's where we're going to wrap it up today. This is going to be a reoccurring thing. This is going to be a great, fun time. This is the channel Nerdum. This is DK.
This is Ozpin.
And we love to have you guys here. Come back. We'll have one of these out every Wednesday. There could be some times where we don't have one out because this is kind of time consuming, believe it or not. Hours of editing.
We have been talking for an hour and 7 minutes.
Which, don't get me wrong, this is fun.
23 seconds.
This is fun. Having a conversation about something you love is never bad. But the editing is like 8 hours of editing. So,
good God.
Yeah, looking forward to that. Ozpin.
Ozpin.
I did. Ozpan.
Ozpin. Anyway.
See you later, Nerdians.
Please forgive the Ruby reference. You guys have a good one.